this video how you can travel to China on a solo trip in search for tea. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from nannuoshan, where we share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea. Maybe during the pandemic you have discovered tea. You have discovered loose leaf tea, really high quality tea. You have really got into that, and it's starting getting the feeling it would be nice to travel to China and discover tea yourself. Go there to the origin. Now, at the time being, China has still closed the door. It's not possible to travel there, but we have to get ready. Sooner or later, they will also open again the borders, and then we can travel over and go in search for tea. So in this video, I will tell you 3 different ways that you, on yourself, by yourself, just on a solo trip, can go to China and discover tea, source tea, find good tea for you. Now, there are a few things that I've learned on the way, so there will be also a few lessons here and there that I want to pass over to you so that you can really avoid doing the same mistakes that I've done many times over the years. So let's say now that your first trip to China, you discovered that tea is an endemic plant from the southwest of China, Burma, Myanmar, Laos, that region, and you would like to go over there and discover tea there. Now, an easy way to travel there, very straightforward, you can fly to Shanghai, from then to Kunming, which is the capital of Yunnan, and then further south to Jinghong, the capital of Xishuangbanna. And nowadays there are direct flights from Shanghai directly to Jinghong. However, I don't know, to me that's not adventurous enough. So if you really want a true adventure, what you could do instead, you could fly to Bangkok. From there, take a bus, take a train, or even take another flight to Chiang Mai in the north. From there, a bus to Chiang Saen, which is at the border with Laos, having a look at the river, the majestic Mekong River, and very soon you will find yourself on a boat on the Mekong River heading up north. North because you can really, there are these high-speed boats that in about 9 to 10 hours bring you from Thailand along the river into China, directly into Jinghong, when you usually would arrive pretty late at night. And there, even, let's say, even if you don't know the language, if you cannot speak Chinese, you definitely have ways to get along, find a hotel to sleep that night. The first time I was there, I really didn't speak Chinese and I managed that. And what I suggest you is actually buying Pimsleur. That's the listen and repeat that I use to learn a little bit of Chinese, just the spoken language. There are other apps, and I think also on a computer you can find other websites to learn languages. I personally really enjoyed Pimsleur. It's just 30 minutes lessons. There are, I think, 90 or 120 lessons in total. And if you just do the first 10, just the first 10, you will be able to ask for direction and ask for a hotel when you arrive in the city. It's just a few hours and it's not that difficult. It's less difficult than you think. But now, let's speak about your plan, because I will now give you some directions, but you, of course, you will make your plan. Well, my very first lesson that I want to tell you is the following. Don't go to China and think that everything goes to plan. In China, nothing goes to plan. You have to be ready to continuously adapt your journey, and please, you have to take it easy. If something goes wrong, just replan and don't really get upset because of it. All right, now you find your accommodation, you get up in the morning, you are in Jinghong. How to find your way to the tea gardens, to the tea mountains? Well, I think you have 2 options. What you can do before leaving, you can use Google Translator to write down in Chinese, in Mandarin, a very simple message, print it out, and show it to actually farmers. Farmers, where you find the farmers in Jinghong? In Jinghong, there are tea markets. There are also tea shops that are usually run by the families of the producer. So you can just enter a tea shop, or even better, going to the farmer market and show your note basically. And on that note, you write who you are, and you write that you are there to explore tea, to visit a tea farm, and spending some time with the tea factory. And you might find people that simply are up for it and will bring you there. Alternatively, you just walk in the city and you search for some tourist office where sometimes they would speak even English. You do the same, you show them the message, and faster than you think, you will find yourself on the road heading to the mountain, and soon after you will be in the forest hiking. For example, on the Nannuo mountain, on nannuoshan. Now, you will find different farms, and whoever is accompanying you will ask for you if you can stay there or not. And it won't be that difficult to find a family that is up for it, where you can stay a few days, sleeping there, and going up to the mountain, harvest the leaves, and then do your first tea. Really, you harvest the leaves, then you do the shaching, you kill the green, and then you dry your leaves, and you have your first self-made shampoo. Now, this type of traveling requires a little bit of I don't know how to say that, but you have to be ready for it, right? Like it is really an adventure. Many things can go wrong, and when you go in a farm, you don't have really very high standards. It's not like in a hotel, so you have really. Are you really ready to eat in a dirty kitchen made of wood, where people actually cook on a fire directly on the wood? Or, for example, would you be up for using a toilet like that? That doesn't look very nice. So if you're not sure about that, you can do actually in another way. So let's look how you can go to China and get tea without really getting your feet dirty, let's say. Well, let's take it easy and let's go to one of the main cities. It is really easy to find good tea in big cities. It is behind every corner. You don't have to be afraid to not finding it. It's actually rather the other way around. In fact, every city has tea markets. They have tea malls, and it's a lot of choice for you to find good tea. So once you get in a city, you can visit the local tea market. Usually big cities have more than one, which are usually outdoor or a combination between outdoor and indoor, with many tea shops one next to each other. Or you can go to a tea mall. It's like a shopping mall, but inside on several floors there are only shops with tea or TEAWARE. And you can also go to farmers market, I would say. So like if you are not in Shanghai and Beijing, but you go in a city, in a relatively large city, in an area where tea is produced, it could be, for example, let's say in Anxi for Tieguanyin, then you will find farmer markets. And in farmer markets, you have really the farmers that come down from the mountain to sell their tea. They pretend to sell it, of course, wholesale, but they will certainly give you half a kilo of tea, and if it's really good and it's really good price, why not? It might be a little bit a lot, but carry it back home and then share with your friends. So just a second, I need some good tea to tell you how to find good tea. All right, now another lesson. When you go in this shop, don't having them choosing you. You have to be the one choosing the place you want to go. You will be overwhelmed with tea and TEAWARE, and please avoid those vendors and door farmers calling at you. Simply because if they are calling at you, it's like they want something, right? And it's rather you that want something, you want good tea. So at least that's my rule. If I see that they call at me or they try even to speak English, I usually try to avoid those places. And one other important aspect to remember is that not all that glitters is gold. So you have to take your time to choose. When you enter a, let's say, a shopping mall, a tea mall, you have to observe beyond appearance. Don't go to the largest shop. Just take your time, look around, try to understand, how can I say, a little bit according to your feeling maybe. And yeah, and also when you get into the discussion with the vendors, don't believe really everything that tells you. So really, when you choose the tea, don't go by the name, famous places or whatever story they want to tell you. Just taste your tea and find out if that experience, if that feeling, if that taste is for you okay for that price. And I have another lesson for you. Don't believe everything they tell you. Somehow you will experience that vendors and farmers like to tell big stories. Stories that are really hard to believe and that would be fairly easy to prove them wrong. Now, while in the Western world, you would tend to politely indicate to someone if he's telling bullshit, right? Like if he's kind of telling so clearly bullshit to you, you really don't want to listen at that, and so you would indicate, please, that doesn't make any sense, that cannot be, and you would bring out your argument against what the people are saying. Now, I would just keep my hands off that. When you are in China with those vendors, with those farmers, in particularly with elderly people, don't contradict them. If they tell you stories that make no sense, just show interest. At the end is a nice story, why not? And move on. I'm not saying that you have to keep on asking and about the story. Just listen to your story, show that you're interested, and then let's move on. And when they start to pretend something a little bit crazy or suspicious about some teas or TEAWARE, like that the artist would be super famous or the tea would come from a very special place or whatever story they tell you, again, don't contradict them, but try to ask them in the course of the discussion different questions to get to the same point and find out if they contradict each other with what they've told, if they contradict themselves with respect to what they told you before. It's a little bit tricky, but it works out. And when you're there and they tell you something and you think, okay, let me ask this other question later on and see if that answer is really aligning with the first one that was given to you. I tell you, you will find yourself after a little while that it's not too difficult to find out if what they're saying is reasonably true or actually is not. But now there is another important lesson that I would say is it goes on the line of this one, like some behavior that you would adopt maybe in the Western world, but doesn't necessarily apply in China. So now, let's say that you go out for dinner by friends and or maybe by their family, and you have a nice dinner, but the dinner is actually not that good. The food is not that good, and they ask you, "How was the food?" Of course, you say was good, right? I mean, they have been so kind. They have offered you dinner, so you don't show that you actually are not really liking it. Well, now, when you are in a tea shop in China, in China you always sit down and you drink tea, so you would drink tea before buying, and actually it's not a problem if you drink the tea and then you say thanks a lot and you leave. It's kind of common practice. If you don't find anything that you like, even if you drank the tea, you don't have to buy something. But more importantly, when you drink a tea, you have your cup, you drink your tea and you're actually not liking it that much. You don't have to pretend being good or something in between. If you don't like, just politely you pour out the tea and you ask if there's anything better. Now, why this is different than the lesson I was telling you before? You're not contradicting them. You're just not liking the tea, and your taste is king. So you're not saying this tea is bad. You're just saying, I don't like this tea. Do they have anything better? Now, this is very crucial because they might ask what is wrong in the tea, what do you like, and maybe if you find some aspect of the tea that are not of your taste or that you discovered that maybe was not processed correctly, you just say it. so that they understand that you have an understanding of tea and maybe bring out the good stuff. All right, now this was how to discover and to source tea in big cities, no matter if they are Shanghai or Beijing or other very large cities, or just some local major city near an area of tea production. But now let's say that you want to go to the tea fields and you want to buy tea directly by the farmer, not in a big city, but at the same time you don't want to go for a too adventurous trip like the one we mentioned before in Yunnan, where you might end up in a farm, but they don't necessarily do this super tea, or maybe they don't have very ancient trees and the tea is so and you really want to buy, you just go there for the experience. Let's say your target is really going to the tea fields to buy really good tea. So now there are several options out there, but just to mention one that you could do it yourself, that is fairly easy and allows you a quick and easy start into that world of tea garden sourcing, I would say let's go to Suzhou. From Shanghai, you can take a high-speed train to Suzhou. It's just half an hour ride. It is about 300 kilometers or something like that. And in half an hour, you're down in Suzhou. From there, you take a subway and you go towards the big lake. It's, I think, the line number 4. And you have to get up at a certain point and take a bus. And you will find all these on Baidu map. It's similar to Google Maps, so you can just find the translation of the places that I will tell you in a second, enter them, and then you will have the full connection. Or when you arrive in Suzhou, you just go at the bus office, you show where you want to go, and then where you want to go is called actually Dongshan. Dong, it means east, Shan means mountain, is the east mountain, and they will tell you how to get there. I managed to do it myself when I didn't know a word of Chinese. You will manage it yourself. So you arrive in Suzhou, you go down with the subway, then from there you take a bus, you go further down and you arrive in Dongshan. Now there are two main areas for Bilochun production, Dongshan and Xishan, east and west mountain. I really suggest to start with Dongshan, east mountain, because it's just easier to go around. When you arrive in Dongshan, in the main city or village, wouldn't call it a city, you can simply visit a few tea shops that are there. There are many tea shops and you can be sure all of those tea shops are actually run by producers. So you get your first sip of tea, just to get started into the day. And then what I suggest doing is just walking around. So you can, directly from the village, you have to walk a little bit, but you see gardens everywhere. And you can just start walking into a garden, or you can take another bus and move just a little bit further down and then explore another area, just a couple of miles, a couple of kilometers. And then you just start walking in the forest among tea trees, among tea bushes. You will see tea pickers. I suggest you going there in spring when in the morning there are tea pickers out, and they will look at you with curiosity because they see a Western person, or anyway a person just walking in the tea fields. So you can just approach them and let them understand that you would like to buy tea, and far faster than you can think you will find yourself just walking behind the farmers back home. And then when you arrive at home, you will see them doing the shaching, killing the green, because that's the first thing they have to do for Bilochun, for green tea as soon as they arrive home. They will have also a few batches of the tea that they have been harvesting in the previous days. They haven't yet sold, so you can have a sip, you can have a taste, and you can buy it. And I can tell you this way, you can really find good tea. Is really good. Bilochun is the original place. It's very easy to reach because it's just very close to Shanghai, and this gives you an overall idea of how that works. And I suggest doing that before you venture in more fancy places where maybe you have to travel more, like Wuishan for rock teas, or if you go to Fenghuan Zhen or Chaozhou for Danzong Oolong, or in Anxi for Tiewanyin, or maybe some other green tea like Anji Bai Cha, which are a little bit trickier. For Longjim would work if you go to Hangzhou, it's also fairly easy, but it's very touristic because many Chinese go there. While if you go in Suzhou and then you go in search of Bilochun, you will pretty much be the only Western people, or yeah, I don't remember having seen anyone else. So it's kind of a more, I would say, real experience. And by that, you may wonder how it's possible that it's so easy to find good tea actually. Well, opening a tea shop, for example, the real problem is not finding good tea. I tell you, in China there is so much good tea. The problem is all the rest. I've done actually 2 videos on how to open a tea business, so you can have a look at those if you're interested about what are the real problem and difficulties actually in opening a tea business. But if you can afford traveling to China and search tea yourself, you will find that it's not that difficult to find really good tea. So I suggest doing so. And if you really are not up for a trip solo over there, just on your own, you can join our tea trips. As soon as China will open the border, we will start again organizing tea journey, and you can be sure that we will announce those on our website. And of course also on YouTube. All right, that's all I have to tell you today. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope that you will start planning your trip to China. It requires some time, so start now. And if you have any question, just drop us an email, info@nannuoshan.org. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have enjoyed, give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it so. And I will see you next week with the next video. Bye guys.